Welcome to the Dynamics of Everyday Life, where we demystify some tricky concepts and get to know ourselves a little bit better. Welcome back to the show, everyone. One of the things that I hope long-time listeners will have picked up on is that I love a fun title. It's often an 80s or a 90s song reference, maybe a bit of James Bond, or like today, I'm heading firmly into Victoria Wood territory. Who doesn't love Victoria Wood? Now, slightly controversially, I'm not the biggest fan of Dinner Ladies. I mean, to me, it's not her best work, unlike the family planning sketch. If you've never seen it, look it up. It has the classic line, "Don't bother, Ken, I'll do it myself," which I'll just leave there for you to enjoy. So, today's title. I've had this topic on my list for a while now, and it was originally down as, why do I go out for lunch with people that I don't want to? And when I've been choosing what I'm going to do each week, I have often considered it, and then I've chosen something else because it's felt more relevant at the time. I don't know, maybe I needed a snappier title, maybe it needed to coincide with an event. Anyway, it has its moments now. And that's possibly because of a conversation I had with my parents recently. For those of you who listened last week, I was talking about an event that I'd been to that was at the other end of the country. And so I got to spend a couple of nights with my parents. And my parents had just happened to visit some of their friends. Let's call them Pam and Derek. And they'd done this before my visit, and it hadn't actually gone very well. Now, a bit of context here. To call Pam and Derek friends is being a bit optimistic, and it never goes well because my parents don't enjoy it. If my parents visit Pam and Derek, it's a long drive. My dad's in his 80s, and he is pretty chipper. He's doing really well, but a couple of hours each way is still a lot for him to do. And if Pam and Derek visit my parents, then there's all the preparation to do and the cleaning up afterwards. I've no idea what Pam and Derek get out of this, if anything. I think there's a bit of one-upmanship on their side. I also don't think that they've got many friends. As for my parents, my dad's never wanted to socialise with them, but has gone along with it because my mum feels she ought to. Note here that I said my mum feels that she ought to, not that she wants to. We were having dinner the night before the event that I was going to, and I smugly told my parents that they should just stop. And I came out with my well-worn line of, I don't see the friends I want to see often enough. Why would I spend time with people that I don't want to? Now, the first part of this is absolutely true. I don't spend time with the people I want to see often enough. I really don't. However, I realised as soon as that I'd said it, that it's very easy to say something and want it to be true without it actually being true. The reason that this title has been lurking around in my episodes to-do list is because I actually do have my very own version of Lunch with Pam and Derek. I'd put it on my future episodes list because it was something that had happened to me, and I thought, you know what, this is really something that's worth talking about and exploring from a psychodynamic angle. So why does saying no feel harder to us than going through the motions? There's quite a few things going on here on an unconscious level, so there's no surprise that this is something that we go through. Let's start off with the superego. It's been a while since we've talked about this part of our psychological makeup, so let's do a quick recap, especially for those of you who don't eat, sleep and breathe this stuff like I do. The superego is part of Freud's second structure of the mind, along with the ego and the id. The superego is the part of us that is our internalised voice of authority. It develops as we grow up, so we're observing and we're absorbing the rules, the values, the moral expectations of everyone around us, particularly our caregivers in the community we live in. Ever had that internal voice saying to you, you should be better? You're not working hard enough, or you don't deserve it? Well, that's the superego flexing its muscles. In the case of spending time with people that we don't want to, it's because it's a case of feeling that we should be spending time with them, as opposed to it being something that we choose to do. This brings us on to the idea of introjection. And this is how the superego gets built up. What we're doing is we're unconsciously taking in the ideas, beliefs and attitudes of the important people around us. And we then start to respond to them as if they're our own. It's a bit like wearing hand-me-down clothes. You didn't choose them, but they then end up becoming part of your identity. Let's say that you grow up being told that you should spend time with people because it's the right thing to do, or you don't want to offend people, or it's not the done thing to put your needs before other people. Then that's what you're going to introject and believe. As you grow up, this will become part of your responses, and you won't be aware that it isn't your voice at all. It's what you've been told. Now, this can be quite hard to break free from, even when you become aware that it's not your voice or your beliefs, because it's been part of you for so long. It's as if it's playing in your head on repeat, and it's why it can feel so uncomfortable, and why, it just might feel easier to go for lunch with Pam and Derek instead of sitting with the guilt of saying no. We've also got our old friend, the repetition compulsion. This is a favourite defensive position that we all take to help us avoid anxiety. And remember, we will do absolutely anything to avoid anxiety, even if it means us feeling uncomfortable. We repeat well-worn and familiar patterns to try and either master a situation that was traumatic previously, or we're trying to heal a primal wound. In our example of going for lunch with people that we don't want to, what we're actually doing is trying to prove to our primary caregivers that we are nice people by doing what is perceived to be the right thing. You can almost hear us saying, "See, I am a good person because I'm doing this." Yet in reality, how often does that work? My invitation to you this week is for you to consider where in your life you've been going for lunch with Pam and Derek. What have you been doing because you feel you ought to, and not because you really want to? Now, there's a bit of a caveat here. There are some things in life that we have to do whether we want to or not, including things like, filling in tax returns, going to the dentist, doing the laundry, etc. Now, this isn't my activity of choice, but it does need to be done because there are going to be some, particularly in the tax return, pretty hefty negative consequences if we don't. But going for lunch with Pam and Derek? Nope, not in the same category. What can you start to tell yourself about these moments? How can you start to rewrite the script? And, as always, give yourself some grace. It's not easy to realise that we've been going through the motions because of an internalised message that wasn't ours at all. Looking at ourselves at this level can be challenging and unnerving as we develop our awareness, so I'd always encourage that you do this at your own speed. If you feel you need some extra help around this, then I've put together a PDF resource sheet and you can find the link for this in the show notes. If you'd like to have a chat with me about psychodynamics or whether I'm the right trainer, coach, supervisor or mentor for you, then click on the link that's also in the show notes. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dynamics of Everyday Life. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. As well as producing this podcast, The Dynamics of Everyday Life has lots more psychodynamic fun going on, and you can find out more at dynamicsofeveryday.life.